I'm Tom Jennings, President of Wilmington Chapter 337. Due to technical difficulties, the beginning of the presentation by Wilmington Police Chief Donnie Williams was not recorded. I am reading from the minutes of our September 3rd meeting, where Chief Williams detailed his early life experiences and his experiences moving up to become a sergeant in the Wilmington Police Department. We then pick up with the remainder of Chief Williams' inspiring presentation regarding his career and the initiatives that he is putting into place within his department. Chief Williams started his talk by telling us a lot about his background. He was born in Wilmington and brought up by a single mother in the Creekwood public housing development. He said he had to choose between doing the right thing or following so many in his neighborhood who were selling drugs or otherwise getting into serious difficulty. Fortunately, he chose the right course. He was an intern with the police department while he was in high school. That set the path for his whole career. He has since had the opportunity to work in most areas of the department at one time or another. After completing law enforcement training at the age of 21, he was sworn in as a police officer and subsequently completed field training. He had positions in housing, crime prevention, patrol, K-9, the DARE program, and mounted police. He then was promoted to patrol senior officer, also working on the street team and narcotics. His dream job was to become a sergeant, and that happened in 2003. We'll then pick up with the remainder of his presentation. Thank you.
In that position, probably a little too long, but it was a neat job, very low stress. And then in 2014, I was transferred over Uniform Patrol, our Northwest Patrol Division. And you talking about working patrol was very interesting because we were going through Ferguson and all the this order that we're going through now. This isn't the first time we went through it back in 2014, so I was thrust right in the middle of that. So I stayed on patrol from 2014 to 2017, and I was promoted to deputy chief. And as you mentioned, I was responsible for criminal investigations, which I never really worked in there, but I was responsible for it, and vice and narcotics, which I'd never really worked that one, but I was responsible for it. Well, actually, let me back up. I did do some undercover work early in my career, but I was never assigned to that unit until I was promoted to deputy chief. I stayed a deputy chief for about a year, and I was content being a deputy chief, but God had other things. The assistant chief retired, and the assistant chief is the COO. Basically, they're responsible for running the operation. So he retired. Chief Evangelist promoted me to assistant chief. So I was it. I ran the whole show, and I did that during Hurricane Florence. Very interesting times. While all of that was going on, I was the project director for our new training facility that we built. So I built a building. I told you I have an interest in trucks, our mobile command post. I acquired that vehicle, and I still possess a commercial driver's license. I am still a member of the mobile command post unit, and I drive our mobile command post and our Oshkosh MATV hurricane response vehicles. I played a big role in acquiring those vehicles and getting them set up. Well, Evangelist called me in one day, and he said, look it. He liked to use the term, look it. He said, look it. He said, I'm going to retire, and what do you want to do? And remember, my plan was just to be a sergeant. I accomplished that back in 2003. And he's like, what are you going to do? And I went home, I thought about it, I prayed on it. I was like, gosh, I think I'm ready. I think I can bring change to the organization. I think I want to be police chief. So one of the first things they did, the Police Executive Research Forum, PERF, they have a very prestigious management school in Boston. I was sent to that school last summer, SMIP. Graduated SMIP, and then we just kind of waited until Evangelist was ready to announce his retirement. And I'm going to tell you about Chief Evangelist. He doesn't want to take the attention from the department. So he purposely waited until we had the ribbon cutting on that training facility, which was December 2nd, 2019. He announced his retirement the next day because he did not want to take away from the training facility. So he announced his retirement. We got through that transition stage. He left. I was appointed interim chief. It was more so of a trial basis to see how I would do and how I would handle things. And a pandemic happens, something that has never hit us before. So I was like, wow. So got us through this pandemic. George Floyd happened. We've made it through that. And then the video of the 3 officers take place. My first day on the job, I had to fire 3 officers. Some of them that I've worked around, well, not some, all of them. I've worked around them for years. Had to fire them the first day and deal with being in the national spotlight. So got through all of that, and where we're at now, as far as the Wilmington Police Department, I like to call it a cultural reset that we're going through. Chief Evangelist did a real great job at getting us the infrastructure we needed, getting a lot of policies in place, and I plan on continuing a lot of what he has done, but I'm going to reset our culture based on a lot that's going on in the world. And I just don't think that police need to reset our culture. Some of our citizens need to reset their thinking too with police encounters, because there's some people out there we just can't do anything right. And there are a lot of citizens that support us and have our backs. There's a lot of support for our officers out there in the field. So one of the first things that I did with this cultural reset, we didn't have a defined vision statement. I knew what the chief's vision was because I was always around him, but we didn't put it down in writing. We also didn't have values as a department, and our current mission statement was created by Chief John Cease probably around 96, 95-ish, somewhere up in there. So we hadn't updated the mission statement in 25 years. So we got a committee together. I had my ideas. We have updated our mission statement, we have defined a vision, and we have values now. And we're in the process of working on getting those out to the entire organization. When we write plans moving forward, when we evaluate performance of our employees, unfortunately, sometimes police officers make mistakes and you have to take corrective action. We are going to reflect back on the vision, the values, and the mission. We also want to create what I like to call a wall of transparency. My vision of this wall is you have a brick wall, you have the police on one side, you have the citizens on the other side. And what we want to do is pull as many of the bricks out to each other and so we can touch each other. Now, there's some bricks that have to remain in the wall. For example, we can't get on TV and talk about certain criminal investigations. We can't get on TV and talk about personnel issues under normal circumstances. So those bricks have to remain in the wall. But there are other bricks that we can pull out of the wall to open up the transparency with our citizens and with our police officers. And one of the things that I vowed to, right now, you're one of the few groups that I have met with. There's a lot of groups that want to meet with me, and we are delaying, or either I'm sending staff to a lot of those meetings. For one reason, I want to focus in on this cultural reset, but I don't want people to just know Chief Williams. I want them to know Officer Gallupi. I want them to know Corporal Josh Brown. I want them to know Detective Trantham. I want them to know Robert Pierce and detectives. I want them to know Corporal Maurice Thorpe. I want people to know our people, not just me. So with the wall of transparency, we're going to be one of the early adopters of a new initiative that's out of Georgetown University's law school, and it is called Project ABLE. And what Project ABLE stands for is Active Bystandership for Law Enforcement. And what it means basically is if our officers see another officer making a mistake or abusing a citizen, they have the training how to stop that and prevent that behavior from happening. Now, when George Floyd first happened, a lot of police departments, the first thing everybody started talking about was duty to intervene policies. We have a duty to intervene policy. We have this policy. Policies are great, but if the employees aren't trained on how to do it, you're going to have the same behavior. You're just going to have some words down on a paper that says that you have a policy. So what we like about this program is it's based on evidence. It's evidence-based, and they've used it in the airline industry. And a good example is with flight crews. Basically, you don't want the pilot to make a mistake where he's going to crash the plane and the co-pilot sits there and says nothing about it because he's scared of what the pilot will think. No, he needs to intervene and stop that mistake. And that's the same thinking that we're going to do with Project ABLE. Fair and impartial policing, implicit bias. Dr. Lori Friedel, and you're free to look her up later on. She is one of the nationally recognized experts on fair and impartial policing. We're going to get Dr. Friedel's group in here. This is a partnership with Cape Fear Community College. And we're going to send 20 of our employees to train the trainer. And then next year during our scheduled in service, they will come back and train the entire department, including the chief. I'm going to back up to Project ABLE. We will be sending 2 captains to train the trainer for that later this month. And we will send additional trainers, and then they'll be responsible for training the entire department in Project ABLE. And the cool thing about Project ABLE is not just a training course. We're going to embed that into our culture of the organization. We want to involve citizens more in our policing process. I ran promotional boards for lieutenant and captain here recently. Normally, the way that we would do those boards is 100% of the assessors would be law enforcement officers. Well, if we're dealing with the community and we're here to serve the community, shouldn't we involve the community in a promotional process? So for lieutenants, we had 80% of those assessors were community members and only 20% were law enforcement. For captain, 60% of the assessors were community members, 20% was from the city's management team, and only 20% was law enforcement versus our past history of just using all law enforcement. We're in the process of taking part in a pilot project with the UNC School of Government and the North Carolina Association of Chiefs of Police. We are basically going to look at issuing citations for minor offenses that people would consider to be victimless crimes, but they're still offenses, instead of taking people off to jail. We're looking at the efficiencies that will create for us. We're looking at how this impacts the jail population, and it circles back into the whole cash bail reform. I'm very open to citizen review boards. The city attorney has been tasked with working with myself and the city manager on coming up with some ideas that we can present on what citizen review boards could look like. One of the most important pieces of this cultural reset is our people, our men and women. I have young officers. I have handcuffs and shoes that are older than some of the officers that work for me. 21, 22, 23. I consider myself to be old school, and even some of our old school officers, we're trying to change the way that we treat them when it comes down to stress. Used to, when I came on the department, if you were involved in an officer-involved shooting, of course, the department would seek help beyond the resources that we have here in the agency. We would normally send our officers for an officer-involved shooting to talk to a specialist to get some type of mental health, because that's big when you take someone's life. So now we're doing that not just with officer-involved shootings. We're doing it with anything critical that one of our officers may be exposed to. To give an example, probably a month or two, and these were 2 veteran officers. Both of them are over 20 years on the agency. They witnessed someone basically take their own life by shooting themselves with a firearm. And we went out to the scene, and both of them, you ask them, because they're softy old dogs like me, been 20 plus years, and you ask them, are you okay? Yep, I'm okay. I'll be to work the next morning. They did not come to work the next morning. I immediately placed them on admin leave, gave them a day off until we can set them up to talk with somebody, so they can get that out. So we're doing that. We're making them mandatory. They don't have a choice. We are working on creating what I like to call soft spaces in the building where our officers can come in and they can take a rest. And this may sound crazy, but if they're on their lunch break, and we now give them an hour for lunch. We used to only give them 30 minutes. We now give them an hour because they work 12 hours. That's a long time. So we give them an hour for break, and we're going to create these soft spaces where they can come in, they can take their gun belt off. They just may want to lay there and relax for a few minutes because it's very stressful right now being a police officer. And we have to take care of our people, but they can take care of you, our citizens. We are going to increase our supervision in the field, which is very important. As I said earlier, these officers are very young and not just in age, with experience. Our average officer that's out on patrol, I would probably say they have less than 5 years of experience. So what we're going to do is we have a rank, and it's the police corporal's rank. It's in between the officer and the sergeant. And basically, we were using that rank as a police officer. They just would have to train. Well, in a few weeks, they will be designated as assistant supervisors. Right now, our ratio of supervisors to officers on patrol is probably one supervisor for about every 7 or 8 officers. With us designating the corporals as assistant supervisor, we're hoping that we can cut that ratio in half. We get it down to about 1 to 4 or 1 to 3 so we can have better supervision in the field. We're going to civilianize a few of our sworn positions. Right now, it's harder than it's been in the past to recruit police officers. To give an example, we take about 7,500 crashes a year. 6,000 of those crashes are non-accident events, meaning if it's a non-accident event, you can have a civilian investigate that crash. We currently have 2 civilian crash investigators. So what I'm going to do is, since it's not as easy to hire police officers, we're basically going to, I don't want to use the term defund ourselves, but reallocate and shift. We're going to eliminate 4 to 5 police officers positions and hire civilians in place because it doesn't take as much to train them, and we will accomplish the same work as if we had police officers doing it. So those are some of the things that we're doing, and I will soon start hosting my own TV series that will run on YouTube and Facebook, and it'll be called Behind the Badge with Chief Williams, sitting at the blue table. And every week or every other week, we will talk about a different topic in the police department, and citizens will be able to email us and give us story ideas. The first topic that we're going to talk about will be homicide investigations. So far this year, we've had, unfortunately, 12 homicides. 10 have been gunfire related. The national average for solving homicides is about 60-65%. Your young detectives across that hall there, across from my office, they have solved like 90 to 95% of the homicides. So they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we're going to continue our efforts to engage our community and try to reduce crime. The crime numbers are looking real good for the year, and I just hope they stay that way. And just a lot going on. As I said earlier, I picked a very challenging time. Well, let me back that up. God picked this time for me. I didn't pick it. I just agreed to it. But very interesting times to be a police chief. At this time, questions? I'm quite sure you have some questions for me.
Anyone want to bring a question up?
Yeah. Chief, I have 2 questions. A few years ago, there was a great staff drain where Wilmington was training police officers, and they were going to the local towns, and you were losing a lot of staff. And the other point I'd like to ask you guys to do is a public service announcement to turn your lights on in the rain, because car radios would be a perfect place for that.
Okay. Yes, great idea. And you're right, we were losing them to other agencies, and we've actually lost some to some larger ones. And one of the things that we did look at was contracts, because it's an investment to take someone off of the street, run them through our process, send them to school for 16 weeks. Then they go through field training and post school, and then they turn around and leave on you. And we're still open to the contract idea. Our attorney is just looking at the legalities behind if we can hold people to contracts or not.
Any other questions?
When is the first YouTube going to be presented?
We are going to run the promo Monday. She's going to release the promo and the press release. We are hoping we could have it out by next Thursday or Friday if we don't run into any major hiccups.
Thank you.
Chief, I have a question. I'm Tom Jennings, the president. I'm on the Cape Fear Elder Abuse Prevention Network, and in times past, we've, I think, offered some training for law enforcement on dealing with mental health situations. Could you comment on how your officers are addressing those kinds of problems?
Yes, two ways. A lot of our officers, and COVID slowed us down a little bit, they are certified in what is called crisis intervention training. And it's a 40-hour course, it's a week long, and it teaches them how to deal with individuals that are in crisis. And basically, you can spot a CIT officer because over their name tag, they will have a pin that says CIT. The last time that I checked, I think we had about 120, 130 people that were trained in CIT. The other thing that we're doing is through, and it's funny because you'll hear people say they need to have social workers respond with the police, and people have recommended this to me, and that we've been doing that for 9 years. It is called Mobile Crisis with RHA Health, and they have up to a 2-hour response time, but normally it's a lot sooner than that. Normally it's averaged about 30 minutes, and if we are going to a call and we feel that someone is in crisis, we can call RHA, and it's 24 hours a day, and they will get a person that is trained normally with a degree in the human services field respond along with us. I don't know if you remember about my first week or two after I was chief, we had the gentleman down there at 3rd and Princess in the middle of the day in the vehicle that I was trying to talk out of the vehicle. A lot of people don't know this, but Mobile Crisis was actually on scene with us. And before they could start engaging him, he had already drove off.
Well, thank you. Very, very informative. Are there any other questions?
Thank
Chief,
you for sharing. Wonderful.
Oh, go ahead, Susan.
I said it was a thank you to the chief for sharing all of that information. I'm very impressed. Even though I live in Leland, I think that's wonderful.
I live in Leland too. Leland is a good place, and we have a great police chief with Brad Shirley. He's a great man.
But thank you, sir. Really wonderful. Thank you.
Glenn, our treasurer that's doing the technical piece for this meeting also lives near Leland, and he's the mayor of Sandy Creek.
Oh, I know Sandy Creek very well. I am also the former chief of the Navassa Volunteer Fire Department. I'm still a member of the fire department, but when I became interim chief, I had to step away as fire chief. And I work with the Northwest Fire Department. I've been on a few fires over the years up in Sandy Creek.
Thank you.
Well, Chief, I want to tell you, we owe you one lunch now already. So what that means is we'll have to bring you back in a year or so so you can update us, and we can treat you to 2 lunches. How about that?
Okay. Okay.
Bring another officer, and we'll treat you both to lunch.
Yes, I would love that, because that's one of the things that I plan on doing when I go out and meet with groups. Sometimes I'm going to bring a young officer with me, and they're going to meet, and I'm going to sit down with the group and see what they do. And that's how you develop relationships with people, because at the end of the day, this is all about developing relationships. because we all want the same goal at the end of the day, a safe, thriving community.
Amen.
Thank you, Chief. That was
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Very
you.
impressive. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us.
All right. Well, everybody have a great day and enjoy the weather in this holiday weekend.
Right.
Very impressive.
Thank you, Chief.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
All right. Excellent.
Very good. Like to proceed with start our business meeting, and that was a very impressive meeting with presentation by Chief Williams. Thank you, Jim, for arranging that. First of all, hope everyone received the minutes that Cheryl compiled for us for the August meeting. And I would entertain a motion to have those approved.
I move we accept the minutes as submitted email.
Right? Very good. Consider those minutes approved.
Mhm.
Glenn, do you want to give the treasurer's report?
Sure. Currently, we have $5,218.91 in the account. And if everybody can see the booklet here, this is our insurance for the next year. It's the liability insurance we pay $100 for. So I just got this in the mail a couple of weeks ago. So we're up to date on our liability insurance. And other than that, that's everything.
Very, very good. Don Messer wasn't able to be with us today. I'm going to say just a few things on the legislative report. One big issue that NARFE is concerned about right now is the situation with the Postal Service. Legislation improving the funding for the Postal Service passed the House, but it's not been acted upon in the Senate. And I would encourage everyone to consider going to under narf.org, going to the Legislative Center and trying to contact our senators about this. There's various ways you can do it by phone. You can send an email. I plan to do that this coming week. But it's really important, particularly with the election coming up, and the possible need for more use of mail-in voting with the COVID-19 virus. In the other areas, a lot of people are dependent on getting their medications or other vital things through the mail, and so that's extremely important. So I encourage you to look at that. Also, the area of the WEP and GPO in terms of the Social Security, there's a couple of bills dealing with that, and I'm going to ask Cheryl to step in and maybe just say a little about it. I'm going to give her the chair for a minute.
There are three bills, and they're all similar. One of the things that is a little bit different is that the amount, the WEP might not be totally erased, but these bills would at least give like 100 or 150 to the annuitants that they wouldn't have gotten as it is now, because the WEP is very, it seems like it's unfair to the federal workers, and that you lose about 480 right off of what you would otherwise get, because the percentage, you only get 40% of what a person that is Social Security only, that isn't federal. So 40% is quite a bit of a write-off, really. Let's see. And they're talking about having something, this WEP would be different in the future, and it might be a certain set amount, but nothing is passed yet, is what the bottom line is. Yeah.
Okay, Judy, would you like to cover NARFE and the Sunshine Report?
Sure. Can you see me and hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any sunshine as usual. Our sunshine is kind of slim these last few months. But if you hear of anybody who would like a card or needs a card or has an issue that I could help with, I wish you all would let me know. We just don't have the contacts with each other the way we used to. So I haven't sent out any cards in a long time, but I'm more than willing to. So I'd be happy if there's something that I could help anybody with. So let me know that. And as far as NARFE, I know it's a broken record, and Bob Fetterman can attest to this because he did the same thing when he was chair. We need to get money into the NARFE so we can support legislators who support us. It seems that the issue of where to find money, they always look at federal benefits for retirees as low-hanging fruit. No, let's take it from there. So our benefits are always at risk, and the only way we can protect those is to support the NARFE so that NARFE can support those who support us. So please, if you've given, think about giving again, and if you haven't given, please give for this year. Thanks.
Thank you, Judy. Are there any birthdays or anniversaries to anyone wants to mention for this month? Not hearing any then, okay. Membership report. Fran and Walt?
Yeah, we have one new chapter member that moved to our area right here in England. 2 members were dropped for non-renewal. 3 members renewed their membership, and 1 member had a payment status change. The reports have been very brief and concise. There isn't a whole lot more of information than that. We continue to send out the emails to give people whatever information is passed along to us. So other than that, if there's something that you want us to share with the membership, please give us an update and we'll send out emails. We're trying to keep a constant monthly email or something to keep the members involved in what's going on with NARFE. There's no other way of us communicating other than by email. So please consider to do that if you have information you want passed along. Okay.
Thank you, Fran. Okay, the service officer report, I'm going to have Cheryl take over the chair again.
I have this right in your papers. Oh, here it is. Wait. Okay. There's a workshop coming up that's co-sponsored by AARP and the Cape Fear Elder Abuse Prevention Network. Unfortunately, Tom and I have dental appointments and won't be able to make it.
What?
But I think it would be something interesting for if any of you would like to attend. It's going to be virtual, and it's going to be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on September 25th. And there will be something coming out about how to connect to this virtual.
This is Shirley Garrier, and I'm actually an AARP volunteer.
Okay.
And I was planning to attend that workshop anyway, so I can do that and then report back.
Okay. That would be great.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Yeah, there'll be a flyer coming very shortly, and we will send that out. There is already a link for it. The chief, the primary speaker, keynote speaker, is going to be Paul Greenwood, who's a retired prosecutor from San Diego, and he has spoken at these kind of events in Wilmington, I think on more than one occasion. He's very knowledgeable and very articulate. And if anyone is interested, in addition to Shirley, there's no charge. Again, we'll be sending out the information as soon as we have it available.
And if you need, as long as you have connection, because I can get you the information too. I'm on the committee. So if there's anything additional you need, just let me know.
I'm on the Elder Abuse Prevention Network, and we also have that information. But thank you. Okay, we'll move on to old and new business. Glenn and I felt like we really needed, with the way things are going with the virus, that we needed to have a Zoom license for the chapter, and we went ahead and did that, and I put it on our credit card, and would like to request reimbursement. Glenn, can you cover what the cost was and anything else you want to say about it?
Yeah, the cost is for a year, and it came to $149 and some change. So what we need is, and for me to reimburse Tom for his expense, I need a vote from the group to say yay or nay as to whether or not we can reimburse Tom for the cost of the 1 year's subscription to the Zoom license. It allows 100 members to join into a meeting, and it gives you literally unlimited time. I could actually set up a meeting for 24 hours if so desired.
I make a motion. All right.
You're not going to threaten us with that, I hope.
No, in reality, if there's something that somebody would like to do for NARFE and related to NARFE issues, and they wanted to put together a small meeting or a longer meeting or an all-day whatever, you could just contact me. I would set that time up that would be desirable for it, and away it'll go. We can have multiple meetings set up. We just can't have multiple meetings at the exact same time on the same day, one at a time. And you can only have one person operate the license at a time. So during the operations, literally, I could log in and then transfer the operation over to someone else, and they could manipulate it if they had information on, like, for instance, right now everybody's seeing the agenda on their screen. Now, if somebody else had documents on their computer they wanted to bring up, I could transfer ownership over to that person during a meeting, and they could bring up their displays and then transfer it back to the primary host. So it gives us a lot of leeway to bring these documents up and show these things and manipulate them. And I've only been at this for a few days, so I've got a lot more to learn. But I think it's beneficial at this stage in the way this virus is going around to have this available for folks to be able to reach out and communicate.
Yeah, I make a motion that we pay for that.
Yes.
Second.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Second.
All right, any comments?
Is there any discussion?
All right, if not, then all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, then motion carries, and I will write Tom a check for the amount of the expense.
Thanks, Glenn. All right. I'm going to defer any specific discussion right now on the Federation. We had our meeting in August. We'll be planning the annual meeting. We're hoping there's talk now about a vaccine and all. There's some hope that we'll be able to have an in-person meeting, and as well sometime next year with our chapter. But I'll provide more the next time. The data system continues. It is improving. It's gradually getting, we think, more accurate, but there's still a ways to go. For example, on our current membership list, there's at least 2 people that I know are deceased, and I'm going to have to report that and try to get that corrected.
Did they vote?
Another issue we have, we're trying to get straightened out, is those of our members that are life members.
Yes, I got it all.
They're not showing up on our membership list, and I've asked Bill Shackelford to get that corrected. The other thing I had on the agenda was that we would expect to have the results of the national election, but late yesterday I did receive the results, so I'm going to be able to tell you a little bit about it now. There were about 12,700 or so people that voted out of 190,000 or something members we have. Ken Thomas, our president, national president, was running unopposed. For national secretary treasurer, Catherine Hensley, the incumbent, was running, and she was opposed by Cindy Blythe. Catherine was reelected by about 60% of the vote. She's another Carolinian from South Carolina, and I think she will continue to, to do a good job. She did give us a little bit of difficulty with our federation bylaws, but she was very gracious in our working those out and getting them approved. In Region 10, as you may remember, Bill Shackelford, our current regional vice president, was running against Robert Allen, our now not immediate, but past federation president. Bill did win the re-election with 60% of the vote, and Robert got just under 40%. And I did not have an opportunity to look at the bylaws, what passed, what didn't. It looked probably like the things that were recommended to approve were, and the ones not. I'll be able to say more about that next time. I do want to mention we had all the chapters voting in North Carolina. There were 327 folks that voted out of 2,070. And in our chapter, 135 ballots were distributed, 27 people voted for a participation rate of 20%, which was pretty darn good. Not as high. The average was 15%. And so I'm pleased with the participation rate that we did get. Are there any questions about the election results? And I don't remember. I think it's around December sometime that the new officers are sworn in, but I'll have to check on that. Jim and Bob, do you want to talk about our upcoming speakers for October and November?
Right. For October, Bob has lined up Major Craddock from the Salvation Army. And that's really good, He's pretty new to the job, and I know he'll have an interesting story to tell us. I have sent Bob some information about drumming up support for our annual donation to the Salvation Army. We can't do the kettle, but we can certainly do something else. And they do about as good as any other charitable organization can do about getting the most services at the least cost. So
right.
What Bob and I are working on the letter, and Tom, I want you also to see it. Let's put it out to the membership and ask them for contributions. They'd be going to Bob. I have a little problem with that, but maybe it'll work out okay.
Make the checks out to the Salvation Army, please.
Yeah, make the checks out to the Salvation Army. We have that. I suggest we get that right up to Fran so she can get it out probably mid-month, or maybe 17th or 18th.
We can certainly do that. And Bob, maybe you still could pick up a kettle and we could at least.
Yeah. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Be the first one to wish you Merry Christmas. And as you know, we've been doing this for about 8 or 10 years since we were able to change from the gift exchange. In the last 2 years, we did over $400 a year in our donations, and I would love to really beat that by a great deal, because I think in this time and in this environment, the Salvation Army needs as much as we can give them. And we are lucky because our paycheck comes in the first of the month pretty regularly.
Right.
We haven't missed any.
Sure does. Yeah, this is one of the most cost-effective. Their overhead costs are very low. What's contributed really goes to services. And I've mentioned it before, but in my career in social work in the VA, Salvation Army in the different communities that where we lived and worked was an important resource for our veterans. So I certainly will, Cheryl and I will certainly contribute to that, and we'll encourage you also. For November, we will have our regular Blue Cross Blue Shield presentation. Very hopeful that our account executive, Patsy Ziegler, will be able to be in person this time.
She said no.
No, I think she said yes.
She did?
That's my understanding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if not, she will have someone else. But my understanding is that she will be with us. Most likely. It will be virtual. And I know they have a plan for getting materials out to people. I'll have to find out maybe for next meeting how that part's going to work. But that's where we are for October and November.
For next year, I guess we could be thinking about next year about who you want to hear about or what topics you'd like to hear. I'm open to suggestions, so just let me know.
Jim, I would love to hear somebody from the New Hanover Regional Medical Center on what's going on with that sale or non-sale, whatever.
I imagine it'll be sold by the time we meet in January, but that still could be a good subject.
Yeah. The other question I raised with Tom was we have always voted not to have a December meeting. People didn't want to go out, but question, do we want to have a December meeting since we're doing it on Zoom, which is a lot different?
I don't know. My question would be, how much are we going to have to talk about in December?
You get us a good speaker.
Aha.
Available.
Well, again, I don't know.
We've done that.
Wow. I can try to get somebody, but I'd really rather. Does everybody want a meeting in December?
No.
I would say no.
I would say no. No from me.
Yeah.
My vote's no too.
I'm not hearing a big demand that we do it. So that there's a lot of things in the holidays. Of course,
It's going to be different this year.
the holidays are going to be different too. But
Yeah.
I think it might be nice to have the December free and start in with January. So, if you think of topics or speakers, please please let Jim know.
It needs to be approved, not having the December, isn't it?
Cheryl's bringing up, I guess, probably it wouldn't hurt to have a motion for the to omit the December meeting.
I'll make a motion that we do not. I'll make a motion that we do not have a meeting in December.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Okay.
The question has been called. All in favor of omitting the December meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's, again, that's one of my primary areas of support. We've always done the raffle, and we've done pretty good, and sometimes we've done even better when John wasn't able to be there and we didn't have it. But I would really encourage you, and we'll put it in the minutes, to send a check for Alzheimer's research to John Gordon. His address is, new address is 214 Camber Drive, Camber Drive in Castle Hayne, 28429. We'll put that in the minutes. I know Chaz and Judy have made a contribution last month. So did Cheryl and I, and so did John. But we would encourage you to strongly consider, adding up what you would have perhaps done if you had the tickets, and and sending a check. Is there any other business?
I move we adjourn.
I second it.
Good.
Who's going to fix lunch?
Yeah. We're coming to your place in San Francisco. In San Francisco.
Hey, everybody. All right, bye-bye.
Everybody stay safe.
Stay
Stay
safe.
well and safe.
Stay safe this weekend.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Good night.
Everybody.